Hello and welcome to PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale History, where today we'll be taking a look at the second of two stages, led by a franchise not also represented by a character. Today we'll be taking a look at Franzea, mixing together Loco and Metal Gear. Loco is a quirky little title released for the PSP that is often considered a sister series to Patapon. Both were Japan studio titles that use music as a central gameplay mechanic, both of them featured quirky art styles and a cast of simply designed but adorable characters, both were PSP exclusives, and also some of the staff resources were split between the two games. The games were set in a colourful faraway land and featured blob creatures called Loco, and the player had to guide these characters around by tilting the world, leading them to eat berries to make them grow, while simultaneously avoiding the dangers that have arrived in their otherwise peaceful life. This game is the basis for Franzea, a stage in PlayStation All-Stars. Franzea is named for the first stage of Loco 2 and based on its general layout with a few changes. So let's start with the basics. Loco were colourful singing blobs that you guided around. They came in a variety of colours, but the basic colour you would control would be the yellow Loco, Colche. The abilities of the Loco were limited. They could eat berries to increase in size, they could split into smaller blobs to allow them to navigate narrow passageways, and they could potentially bash into things. In gameplay, Loco would react to which way the world was tilting, and tilting was controlled through the shoulder buttons, and pressing both made the Loco jump. While gameplay was relatively simple with a linear route through colourful landscapes, there were a few things in there to test the player. One of these things was hidden areas, which often contained berries to increase a Loco's size, or sometimes they contained hidden challenges or items. They could often be only found by pressing Loco up against walls to see if they would keep going. That's how well hidden they were. This should give you a general idea of how Franzea works in All-Stars as well. When the stage first loads, Colche rolls through a small tunnel and bounces around the stage. As the stage progresses, Colche begins to grow and later bounces through the mashup, although we'll talk about that later. The stage itself generally resembles Franzea from Loco 2, with a yellow backdrop and simplistic designs, with flowers being a prominent design element. The stage will also tilt occasionally, just like in gameplay in the original games. In doing so, hidden areas are often revealed, again, just like in the original games. Throughout Franzea you could encounter buds. By jumping into these buds, they would instantly open and grow into flowers, providing the Loco with musical notes, which make the stages safer and easier to navigate. You could also collect pickeries, which were depicted as fruit being carried by bugs. These acted as a form of currency throughout the games, and of course you could collect berries to grow larger. All of these things appear in Franzea in PlayStation All-Stars. Budding flowers now drop AP instead of providing musical notes, but notes can be seen floating around the stage too, along with the occasional pickery. Aside from the AP drops, most of this doesn't affect gameplay and is just there to maintain the Loco atmosphere. At various points in the Loco games you could encounter happy little creatures known as gnocchi. These were basically worm-like things that emerged from the ground and provided platforms and access to the Loco. Sometimes they would be blocking places and it was up to the Loco to help them out. Gnocchi also frequently appear in Franzea in PlayStation All-Stars, popping out of walls and hidey holes to provide new platforms for fighters. Now, Franzea in Loco didn't have water, but Jiao Jab, the tropical level later on, did. This level featured various sections where the Loco could go and explore underwater. These underwater sections also featured a strange otter-like creature who would grab your little blobs and send them flying. This is possibly the inspiration for the water and the otter-like thing you can bounce off in PlayStation All-Stars. It's not from Franzea originally, but it is there all the same. And now, the music. this mashup. Okay, so why exactly is Metal Gear called Metal Gear? Put simply, much of the storyline of the series revolved around governments and terrorist organizations building giant robot fighting machines called Metal Gears. Frequently referred to as walking battle tanks, they were exactly what happens when you let a Japanese geek interpret Hollywood action movies and American military actions into his own vision. In the original Metal Gear Solid, Solid Snake was sent to take down Metal Gear Rex, a bipedal tank armed with basically everything. Failing to prevent its launch, Snake instead resorted to taking it down by hand. Because why not make the climax of your game a fight against a giant robot? In Metal Gear Solid 2, Snake encountered Metal Gear Ray, an amphibious version of Rex, and here he just took pictures of it before being pushed to support character status when Raiden entered. But Raiden fought Ray late in the game, only this time he fought a whole bunch of them instead of just one, and yet this still failed to make him immediately cool. Upping the stakes from that, Metal Gear Solid 4 saw Snake piloting Rex and fighting against a Ray, and it was awesome! Look at this, and you try telling me that this is not awesome. You can't, can you? Exactly. However, these things were typically late game stakes or high climactic battles designed to test everything you know about the game so far. But in Metal Gear Rising, the fight with Ray was the tutorial. Yes, to signify how different Rising was to its Solid brethren, they moved the Ray fight entirely. They wanted to show you that Rising was an over-the-top crazy action game, and so why not dump the Ray fight on you right at the start? It worked since the entire segment was awesome and had awesome music. In this case, the Ray had undergone a bit of a makeover, gaining extra armor and being colored differently to represent its ownership by a new organization. It's also a pretty quick beast with a variety of moves. In its initial stage, it would shoot a machine gun at you, attempt to step on you, occasionally swing its tail, and it would fire a powerful plasma cannon. In a later stage of the fight, Ray would also shoot missiles at you, and it was possible to run across these missiles to attack Ray some more. Yes, you heard me right, you ran across missiles. Don't act like that's not cool, because it is. Ray's attacks in All Stars are very reminiscent to these original attacks, with the missiles being the most prominent moves. Ray also has a bite move that he'll occasionally perform, which seems to be more from the MGS4 fight. Now, throughout the Metal Gear series, the whole point of the game was to remain hidden. Stay stealthy and keep out of sight. Don't get caught. Don't do it, because... oh dear. Now, it was pretty easy to tell that you'd been seen in Metal Gear, because every time you did, an exclamation mark would appear above a guard's head, and a noise would sound. This exclamation mark and sound appear in Franzea as well, as an indicator of when Ray is about to attack.
Very good. But do not rest easy just yet, huh?
And that's it for Franzea. No clues to the next video here, I'll let you figure it out on your own. Stay tuned.